All right, MMA Maniacs, away we go once again with your weekly podcast about MMA. We are Split Decision, Bueller and Dodge from the Ruloff Family Inc. Studios, ready to bring you some news, break down some fights, and of course look forward to tomorrow night's UFC as well. If you want to go check out AmericanaMMA.org, put in SDMMA as your code, you can get 10% off.
Yeah.
You get 1,000% off.
1,000%. Did you just hear that?
That's what Americana told me.
That's a complete lie. It's 10%. I don't want to be held accountable for that. All of a sudden, you get a bill from Americana, and they're like,
you owe all of our guys.
You owe the difference. And also, memory tag, the memory tag greeting cards. If it's not a memory tag greeting card, it's just lame. So check them out, too. They're partially owned by some of the guys at
Team Alpha Male.
Team Alpha Male, thank you. Yeah, Uriah Faber being the main guy in it. So worth checking out. We got some news to give to you today on some new equipment. Dennis went and invested in some new stuff. That's fancy.
Oh, thank you.
I don't see any of this new equipment. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, he invested in it for him.
Yeah, he's got a new microphone and headphones. Look at him.
You guys don't even wear headphones anymore.
Before we start this, I guess we got a tweet from somebody that said they really liked the show, but was not happy about how we butcher names.
I'm trying to find his name. I think it's Brian Brooks. It's called Good Leg Kick. He tweeted us. Yeah, he said he loved the personalities, loved the show and everything, but we butcher everybody's name.
Well, if there wasn't so many foreigners in the sport. No, seriously.
Steve-O's from Ohio.
He's what?
Born and raised in Ohio.
Well, he's got a complicated name. No, honestly, yeah, it's been an ongoing joke for a long time for us to butcher names. It's just easier than trying to find the
See, he can't even talk. He can't even talk.
Yeah, can't even find the pronunciation of pronunciation.
Yeah, exactly. Correct pronunciation of the names. Because there's so many, and some of them don't even have very many vowels.
I like when we interview him, and then you just butcher it, just to have him to correct you. Like, oh, now I know on the podcast I'll be able to say it correctly from now on.
Well, no, the best is the herring. Because you did say herring.
I had something in my throat.
Yeah. You said, hello, Miss Fish.
Hello, Miss Fish. How are you?
But anyway, thanks for the compliment. We really appreciate that. We always like feedback, so hit us up on the Facebook, which is Split Decision MMA Podcast. You can get us on Twitter and Instagram, which is SD_MMA. And if you get us on our website, that's splitdecisionmma.com. And Spreaker, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, all that stuff carry the podcast as well. So tell your friends, spread the word. We love you all. Merry Christmas. Let's roll with what's going on here with Joe Rogan.
Well, a little more about CM Punk. More and more has been coming out.
I'm tired of hearing about this, especially since now he's not going to fight for a long time.
Well, we knew he was going to fight.
He already
till
said
October.
he wasn't going to fight until next year.
But no, I'm like...
That was in the story.
It could be the end of next year.
That's what he said,
like
a year.
October
Yeah.
when it first broke.
If I went into camp now, I could be ready by next year.
All right, so go into camp.
I'm going to.
I'm not.
I'm going to camp at the lake. Camp at the reservoir.
Joe Lauzon had tweeted that he would like to see him fight Joe Rogan.
No.
Joe Rogan said, sorry, I would break the drug test like a hammer hitting a carnival bell at a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Best tweet. He won Twitter with that tweet.
Hey, man, you ever MMA on weed?
First, he MMA's on Alpha Brain. Then he MMA's on weed.
So, yeah, he will not be fighting Joe Rogan. Jose Canseco came out and said he would like to fight him.
He's got to fight.
He does have one. Two?
He doesn't have a finger.
Yeah, he's trying to sell that on eBay.
That's disgusting.
I thought you couldn't do
piece of finger?
Yeah, I don't think you could sell body parts, though.
It's got like all kinds of screws and shit going through it. I mean, I bet it smells like rotten cheese.
I'm calling my mom and looking for my foreskin. Think we can get anything for that?
No, you're not Jose Canseco. You didn't win any batting records?
You don't know.
You could sell it as Jose Canseco's foreskin.
Or his finger. You look about the same.
It's way too big to be Jose Canseco's foreskin.
So who we want to fight? Who we want to fight him then? Huh?
I don't know. I know you want the Green Ranger so bad.
David Frank, man. Why not?
You want him so bad.
He's 1-0 professionally. That's what they want. They want a 1-0 fighter.
3-0 in the amateurs.
I feel like I'm missing out on something with this whole Green Ranger thing. I mean, was there some at some point that they wanted the Green Ranger to fight CM Punk?
No, not at all.
No, now Bloody Elbow does.
Never.
Bloody Elbow has a...
But I mean, it's coming from everywhere.
Allegedly, allegedly, the Green Ranger, Mr. Jason David Frank, has been calling him out. He says they were at a Comic-Con together, and he called him out and said, we should fight. At the time, CM Punk was doing WWE, so he's like, dude, it's not going to happen. Like, I'm sorry. And so now he's saying, he's been ducking me. He's been ducking me.
You've been ducking me,
bro. And so he put the whole thing up on Twitter and online and going on the underground forum. Like, he's been ducking me for years, and now that he's even got a professional spot where he can fight me, he won't fight me.
That's what the fight should be. And I would show up in a Green Ranger costume.
I will say, though, I did see a recent interview with him where he actually, CM Punk, Phil Brooks, talked about, he offered to go through the Ultimate Fighter. He went to the Fertittas and he went to Dana White and said, I understand I don't deserve to fight immediately in the UFC. I understand that I need to work my way up. I would like to sign with you guys somehow. Can I go through the Ultimate Fighter house? And they said, no.
Because he'd lose.
We're going to put you on a pay-per-view because he's going to make money.
He's going to make money, and he's going to lose his first fight, and that'll be it.
And it doesn't matter. You can still make money. Maybe losing that first fight. Yeah. You're going to get more money out of that first fight than you would an entire season of The Ultimate Fighter. The same thing with Kimbo. When he lost in the first one, the ratings tanked.
Right.
The rest of the season. Because no one's going to see him fight again.
Exactly.
The ratings were at an all-time high for the first 3 episodes where you did not see Kimbo fight. And the minute you saw him fight and lose to Roy Nelson, it just went... And then nobody watched the heavyweight season anymore.
Right, and they built
except
the hype,
for Joey.
And they built the hype by, like you said, having him fight a bunch of cans to get in there.
Yeah, and that's exactly why he shouldn't even have thought about going through the Ultimate Fighter house. It's just, there's no way. They got to cash in on that cash cow while they can.
But he was trying to be respectful, so at least I respect him for that.
No, that's awesome of him, but I understand the business decision to not do it. I mean, if we were just talking about the purity of the sport and that's it, then yes, by all means, he should have gone through the house. But no. I mean, now the money's invested in him. No, get the money out of him.
Get it out of there.
Call it a day.
Reebok announced an official partnership with Jon Jones and Ronda Rousey last week. They are going to be the first 2 official, besides obviously you got Johnny Hendricks already in there, that will help design the whole line of MMA gear, new shorts, new shirts, new everything, anything that has to do with the MMA world, training pads, all that kind of thing. They're going to be the first 2 names that are going to be on the board to help do that, and they're going to be the faces of Reebok UFC for now.
So when we go to like Big 5 to buy some UFC stuff, it's going to have Jon Jones and Ronda Rousey's face on it?
Yes.
Hopefully, and possibly Hendricks.
And big yellow stars behind him?
Yeah.
I just want floating heads with big yellow stars behind it. That's it.
Did you see Jon Jones' little dance?
Yeah, his little dance on Instagram where he was so happy he got to be picked.
Did he do the cat daddy?
And he was just dancing. Just
I wanted to see his sad dance when he got the 6 figures pulled from him for the little fight he got into.
Well, that's even funny. Let's talk about that. How now he's upset. I don't know if you guys have seen the promo, which is awesome, by the way, for UFC 182.
I have not.
They've been taking all of the ESPN footage, all the interview footage, the before and the after, so the live stuff that aired, plus the stuff that ESPN released afterwards, and like mashing it all together. Any interviews they've done with any of the other MMA organizations that are, media outlets that are out there, putting it together to build up this, and they play the Nas "Hate Me Now" in the background of the entire thing. And Jon Jones got upset. He says he's offended. When I first saw it, I was offended by it. That's the UFC for someone who's supposed to be backing my brand and making me look good would put up something like that for the general public to see. I don't think it's healthy for the world to see their champion, for the world to see the UFC's champion saying I would kill somebody. It took me off guard.
Hey, John, they did it respectfully.
John, why the fuck did you say it in the first place then, you idiot?
Seriously.
But that just added more fuel to DC's you're a douche. You're a two-sided, you're a two-faced douche.
And that's the consensus I'm getting. I've been talking to a lot of fans coming down to where I work and different things like that, and everyone's like, if he's a dick, why doesn't he just act like a dick all the time?
Yeah.
Why is he... DC had to expose him to being like, he's so fake.
Yeah, play the villain.
Just be the heel.
People love the heels, too.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Nick Diaz.
Everybody does.
Everybody loves Chael Sonnen. You can still make money and be the people's favorite by being the heel. I mean, even The Rock, when he was the heel, was still the people's champion. You know what I mean?
It cracks me up that he's offended that... I can't believe they showed that I said that I would kill somebody. They shouldn't be showing that.
Then don't say it.
Right?
Yeah, don't be the dick then.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be portrayed as a dick, then don't be the dick.
Well, obviously someone that's not upset or not too happy with how they were portrayed is Nate Diaz. This is before his fights with Rafael Dos Anjos that was on Fox this past weekend. I don't know if you guys saw the pre kind of walk-up thing, how he walked out of his pre-fight interview.
I didn't see that, no.
Okay, so they were asking him questions, it's like, how do you think you can beat Rafael Dos Anjos? Where do you think you're... they would ask him a bunch of questions. You get the pre-talk, like, before they go in the octagon, that they play before the event, and it has, like, little sound bites. It's them sitting. You see
okay.
So, it was that. They show him being like, you know what, I'm done. He just gets up and walks out. Now, this happened with BJ Penn as well. If you remember a while back, he was talking about fighting Nick Diaz, and he didn't want to do the interview anymore, and he walked out. Later, they released the full unedited interview, and it didn't look as bad as it seemed. This is another one of those things. Nate Diaz says, he put this on Twitter, he said, you know what? He says, they asked me the same question 20 different times, trying to get me to talk shit. I wouldn't talk shit, so I left, and then they make me look like an asshole. He's like, beating number 3 doesn't help. I did that 2 other times, and the outcome was the same every time. No money. Why play along when it doesn't benefit you to benefit? Why act like a played professional athlete when you're treated like a bench semi-pro?
Win. You want shit to change? Win.
We'll get to his fight.
You
a little
are
bit
a
later.
bench semi-pro, dude. I mean, if you can't complain about the UFC, UFC's always screw me over. When you don't show up for open workouts, you get fined for that. You show up 6 pounds overweight, you get fined for that.
20% of your purse.
Yeah.
And if you're overweight, you immediately disqualify yourself from any of the fight of the night bonuses.
Yeah, you can't do that. So UFC's not screwing you out of money. You're screwing yourself out of money.
Yeah.
By doing that and by not winning. If you win, you get paid more. You lose, you don't. If you're not going to win and get paid more, then you're going to lose, and you better be a Chael Sonnen or a Nick Diaz.
I'm going to paraphrase the whole Vince McMahon, Bret Hart thing. UFC did not screw Nate. Nate screwed Nate.
Nate screwed Nate. Yes.
You know what I mean? Come on, dude.
Exactly.
You got to show up. And the thing is, I was watching UFC tonight afterwards. Everyone, of course, was disappointed in talking about how, again, we'll get to the fight here a little bit later, that he just got demolished. But it's like, be the fighter we all know you can be.
Yeah.
You are a top rank. You should be number 5. You're not anymore because you didn't fight for a year.
You got to show up for work, man.
But you can be a number 5 if you show up and fight. When you don't show up, you're going to drop in the rankings. When you don't take it seriously, it's going to happen.
I was talking to a fan over the weekend too, and he basically said, this is him, not me, but I'm going to repeat it. He said that Nate should drop to the ground and kiss Dana White's feet that MMA exists because he is probably literally too stupid to even flip burgers at this point in time.
Wow.
Yeah.
From a fan.
Not from you. Not from us.
But think about that, though. That's what a fan is saying about this sport.
Yeah.
And a person who was a fan of Nate, too, is like all the stuff that Nate's been doing is like he's turned people off to him.
And everyone likes, and even, again, on UFC Tonight, they talk about people like that anti-establishment attitude where it's like, fuck the UFC, and fuck my bosses, and fuck this, and fuck... They like that, to a point.
Right.
It can only take you... They want to root for you because you're doing that kind of thing, but you still got to show up and fight.
Yeah.
Once you stop showing up and fight, you can't just say, fuck the man anymore, because now you're not...
Well, all week,
you're not the anti-hero anymore.
All week on the East Coast and the Deep South, they've been thrashing Nate. His name is Mud over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. It was a terrible showing for him.
Yeah.
It was a spit in the face, really.
And especially to tweet and talk shit all the way in. And then to have him, we're probably going to talk more about it later, so.
All right, so let's get into some of the things that have happened as far as we got some retirement things going on. We got Jamie Varner retired.
Your boy retired?
He retired. He's done.
In the ring.
Retired in the ring, so that was his last fight. He said going into that fight, it was going to be his last fight. He said he just can't keep up with the young kids anymore. He's been battling too many injuries. His hat's off. Came into hostile territory, fought his ass off. It's been a dream. It's been a long time for him. He owns a gym. He wants to do those things that he wants to do, which is he's going to continue to devote his time at Impact MMA in Scottsdale, Arizona.
All right. Well, good for him.
So, good for him.
He turned his stuff around towards the end there. And,
Yeah.
He even won you over a little bit.
A little bit. Now that he's gone, that doesn't matter. So. Big Nog has said that he will not retire. He still has 2 more fights left in him, he thinks.
No, he doesn't.
Do you think he needs to get out of fighting before Brendan Schaub does?
No, he said 2 fights, not 2 wins.
I think they should both hold hands and walk out together.
Do you think it'd be a retirement fight for both of them?
Yeah, should be.
Kumbaya.
What do you think? Would you watch that fight, Brendan Schaub against Big Nog? Again? Right?
Shaw
Didn't they already
knocked
fight?
out.
Do I have to
Got
pay
knocked out,
for
right?
it?
The first time.
Do I have
think
to pay
so.
for it, or will it just be on TV?
It'll be on Fox.
Oh, I'd watch it.
Fox Sports 1 Fight Pass, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also watch the Mexican news because they're half dressed, not because of what's going on.
Oh.
That's why I Telemundo on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably how I'd watch this fight, too. I'd probably put on a good Metallica CD and then watch the fight.
Another guy who I don't know how I feel about this. Gray Maynard has signed an 8-fight contract at the UFC.
How does that happen?
I don't understand that either. My mind's blown right now.
These numbers on these fights, I mean, even with Anderson Silva, these numbers on these fights, some of these guys can't even make it to 2 fights in a year.
You shouldn't. I don't. Yeah, that's terrible.
He's only lost 3 in a row.
But
He's gonna go back to Extreme Couture in Vegas.
he's lost 3 in a row, and they give him a new contract.
8-fight contract.
8 fight, and they're cutting guys They're like cutting guys after 2 losses in a row sometimes.
He's apparently a needle mover.
No, he's a wet blanket, though.
And a knockout risk at this point.
Yeah.
It's a severe concussion risk.
Dustin Poirier's decided to move back to lightweight. He says the cut to 145 was just a little too tough. It was a brutal cut. He walks around at about 180.
Holy crap.
So now he's going to go back to 155.
That's probably a good
This
thing.
is after his loss to Conor McGregor.
Right.
Do you feel that he just... I mean, I don't know. I guess it's from his own mouth. He says it's just because the weight cut was too brutal.
Well, he lost to a better fighter, too, essentially, at that point.
Yeah.
At least on that night. Cutting that much weight's insane.
That's a lot.
Well, plus we still don't know if they're going to initiate that same day weigh-in thing too.
Yeah.
Which is going to create a lot of fighters to change weight class.
Oh, yeah, big time.
We'll see how that ends up happening.
It's going to be a lot safer for the fighters, though.
Rory McDonald, who's won 8 of his last 9, was supposed to be getting a title shot since he won over Tariq Saffiedine. Dana White has told him no, that it possibly will not be him, that it will most likely be Johnny Hendricks and Robbie Lawler 3.
Yay.
Do you feel that's a better fight than Rory McDonald?
Oh yeah, if I had a choice between chocolate and straight vanilla, yeah, I'm going to eat me some chocolate. Rory McDonald is a vanilla.
I like vanilla. Is it vanilla bean?
I like Rocky Road. Where does that put me?
Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble, yeah.
All of them in the cage at the same time. Go! The belt is suspended above on a cable.
Here's a
That's
ladder.
Neapolitan.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy Russian fight league they have now where it's 6-on-6?
Yeah. In like the weird gym that looks kind of like a street and they can do jumping off of stuff.
They got garbage cans.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff.
And they're 2 of them are tied together. Yeah.
They are. Almost like a 3-legged race.
You can hit the block like Mario and weapons fall out. Like, it's crazy. And it's timed. I think Deadmau5 is playing somewhere.
It's just knives and shit fall out. Someone grab some hedge clippers.
Now I think you're confusing Madden commercials. Oh. That's what's going on.
Another fight has been announced. We're going to have Glover Teixeira going up against Rashad Evans in February. UFC Fight Night 61 in Brazil.
In Brazil, yeah. Okay.
A lot of people in forums are upset about this fight. I don't know why. I keep trying to read, but I don't understand why they're so upset about it.
Too many words?
No. I'm understanding the words just
I keep
fine.
trying to read.
I know.
No.
I'm like, what?
No, I don't see why they're so upset about it. A lot of people say that Teixeira is going to get nothing out of it. A lot of people say that Rashad has a lot to lose from it. I don't. Do you see that either way?
I don't see what Teixeira gets out of it, honestly. I can see that. I don't think Rashad Evans has anything to lose from it, really, because he's going to, in my mind, he's going into this fight expected to lose pretty much by the fans. Not by him. He doesn't expect to lose a fight. But I think most people who know these 2 fighters would probably assume he wouldn't
Well,
win it.
I mean, I don't know. Look at the rankings right now. You got Alexander Gustafsson, which is going to be going to, is number 1, is going up against Anthony Johnson, who's number 3, Rumble. You got DC, obviously number 2, going up against the champion John Jones here at the end of next month. So then you got Rashad Evans sitting at number 4 and Glover sitting at number 6. Why not have that fight? That seems to be a pretty good fight for both of them, in my opinion. I mean, Phil Davis is already scheduled to fight somebody, and he already fought Rashad and Glover both, didn't he? I know he fought Rashad for sure and lost.
Did he lose at Glover, too?
I thought he did. So I don't see why this
based
is...
on the rankings, yes. Looking at it like that, it makes sense.
Do we just have a double 8? They had Dan Henderson
tied?
and OSP.
Yeah, they're tied at 8 right now.
There was a double number 1 contender recently, too. I think in the Melendez's division. I don't know. In my mind, and maybe in a lot of other people's mind's eye as well, like Rashad.
Yeah. Oh, he actually, Phil Davis did beat Glover Teixeira. Okay. That's right. Unanimous decision.
Interesting. That's probably what dropped him down then. Okay. I don't understand why Rashad is still ranked so high.
So maybe that's what they're upset about, that he's coming off a loss and getting somebody higher than him. But I mean,
the fight, like Dodge said, the fight completely makes sense.
It makes
for the
sense.
rankings.
I know.
Absolutely makes sense.
I know Phil Davis is already booked to fight.
So you got so Rashad, he had back-to-back losses with John Jones and Nog, but then he came back and got back-to-back wins over Chael and Dan.
And he's beat Phil.
With the exception of John Jones, it feels like those fights happened 5 years ago.
2002 or 12, excuse me. It does seem like it's been a while. He was on injury for quite a long time.
I think that's got to be what it is. People aren't looking at the rankings, and in their mind's eye, Rashad Evans hasn't really been.
Yeah, and then so Phil Davis is going to be fighting Ryan Bader, who is ranked at number 7. So you got a 5 going up against a 7. You got a 4 going up against 6. What's the problem?
There isn't one.
There isn't anybody else that they can fight at the moment.
right.
I mean, yeah,
Absolutely no reason to be upset over it.
I see. I think this is a good fight.
I'm more surprised at the fact that Rashad Evans is number 4. That threw me, that completely
That threw you for a loop.
Yeah, big time.
All right, and so obviously we have the biggest news before we get into the recaps of everything and the preview of Saturday's fight. The biggest news to come out, and I almost brought this up last week, but because there was no details, it was really hard to bring up and talk about.
Right.
We had this was been rumored since last week, right around Thursday, Friday. There was a class action lawsuit soon, pending, gonna happen against the UFC, and that's pretty much all they said. Class action lawsuit, possibly dealing with antitrust laws. Nobody was named.
Right.
Nothing. There was no details at all.
There
None.
was a lot of speculation on the internet. Like you said, it was like one website.
One website. Bloody Elbow is the only one.
And everybody copy pasted.
And copied and pasted their entire thing saying imminent UFC antitrust lawsuit. And that's all they would put. There's no details. None.
Well, because they didn't actually file.
It hadn't been filed yet.
Right.
Correct. So it was filed. Press conference was held. Is that yesterday? I talked to you guys? I was texting you.
2 days ago.
Wednesday?
2 days ago.
Wednesday, yeah. So I was actually able to get on and listen, and I listened to the whole thing. I downloaded the document that you can read, the actual file that they filed. 3 fighters, John Fitch, Kung Lee, and Nate Quarry, have all been named as plaintiffs in this class action lawsuit against the UFC, claiming that the UFC violated the Sherman Antitrust Act, eliminated competition, and reduced what the fighters would be able to earn in a free market. I honestly feel, just right off the bat, it's a little too late. Too little too late, because their main argument is when the UFC bought Strikeforce, they completely decimated the MMA landscape and there was nobody else to go to.
But they're also bringing up things
That was in 2012.
Like they told Tap Out when certain fighters... Okay.
Allegedly. I have documents here.
Okay.
So these are things. Now, listening to the press conference was kind of funny, and a lot of the MMA media was actually making a lot of jokes on Twitter and on their own websites about this because, A, the lawyers are being touted more than the fighters. They wouldn't let the fighters answer hardly any questions.
Which is really good, actually.
They wouldn't let him answer any questions at all. Kung Lee is still under contract with the UFC currently. He says he will not. He refuses to fight for them. He's not going to. I mean, he'd been asked to release his contract right before this happened.
Right.
Nate Quarry has been retired since, 2011? And John Fitch fights for World Series of Fighting.
Right.
So, they are saying that basically this got filed in San Jose. You also have to remember that the UFC was investigated last year by the Federal Trade Commission for the same exact thing, for a monopoly. And nothing was found. They found that they had to close the case because there was no evidence.
With the evidence that was portrayed.
Okay. So, the stuff that they're bringing up, though, to me, is fucking ridiculous. This is in the actual court document. They have quotes from Dana White, such as him on Twitter when Affliction, Elite XC, and IFL closed. He had the little fake tombstones that somebody gave him.
Yeah.
They have that as evidence, saying that obviously here's the quote from Dana White. I'm the fucking Grim Reaper, motherfuckers. That's a quote from them. They're saying he's taking credit for shutting down these other companies. First of all, they folded. He didn't buy any of them. They fucking folded because they didn't know how to run a business. Whose fault is that? Are you going to blame the UFC? This is just my opinion. Are you going to blame the UFC? Now, yes, they turn around and bought their libraries. That's good business. The WWE does that. Who's suing the WWE?
Nobody.
I just think it's too little too late. Now, they have documents when allegedly he was talking to BJ Penn when BJ Penn decided to go to K1 after he took the belt from Matt Hughes. He says that they say they have quotes from him saying, "You're scorched earth, motherfucker. You're never going to fight in the UFC again. I'm going to erase you from all of our promos. I'm going to erase you from DVDs.
I'm going to blur your face.
You're going to blur your face. It's going to be like you never existed." Did that happen? No.
No.
But that's a quote that they allegedly have. Do they have a recording of it? No. It's just somebody heard him say it and they think that's what happened.
But they do have copies of emails to Tap Out where he tells them that he will kick Tap out if they continue.
That's not true. This is what they have. They have from M1 Global and Fedor. Fedor says he had a deal with Tap Out. Tap Out told M1 Global that allegedly that the UFC, Dana White contacted them and said, if you sponsor Fedor, I will not allow you to have any of your Tap Out fighters in my octagon, and you're no longer going to be allowed to come to our events.
Is that what happened?
According to M1 Global. Not according to Tap Out, and not according to anybody working for Tap Out. According to M1 Global, that's what Tap Out told them.
Right.
But Tap Out has not come out and said, yeah, it's true, and I have the
Where's
documents.
Tap Out been? I mean, did they get booted?
No, since what's his name?
Since Mask died?
Mask guy, they've got it kind of down.
Yeah, there's a big thing about who's main controller, what they can get into. A lot of the stuff, just kind of because the other two guys actually went into other
businesses.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Tito Ortiz was asked to get in on this lawsuit, and he refused. He said no. He doesn't think that he needed to be a part of it. It's not best to be a part of it
because he knows how the mafia works.
He's a pretty disgruntled guy. I mean, you know what I mean? There's the only fighters that I've seen so far that have come forward. Mr. Cody McKenzie here, who just recently retired from fighting today, said, "Fuck the UFC. I hope they get what's coming to them. I never made any money in this sport." That's because you sucked, dude.
I heard the number could be as high as 65 or 70 fighters total.
Yeah, and yet not a single one of them has come forward. These three have come forward. Sean Shirk says he wants to jump aboard.
You said there was one more, didn't you?
Excuse me, Carlos Newton.
Carlos
Newton is helping out. He's not named in the lawsuit, but he was there at the media event. He's helping out.
Got it.
The biggest thing that I thought was hilarious was everybody goes, "Hey, what about Bellator? Aren't they competition?" We don't want to talk about that right now. That might be brought up in the case, but we don't want to talk about that right now. They're like, they're owned by Viacom, a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Don't you think that? What about World Series of Fighting? We have no comment about that right now. We don't want to talk about that. We need to focus on what this is about and not what's going on over there.
They're mainly going for back pay compensation here, right?
They're saying that the UFC basically eliminated all these other places out of competition, and the fighters deserve more. They're also saying they created unfair market for fighters, and somebody asked, "Are you looking to unionize fighters?" Just like because they said, "What's the difference between the UFC?" Because they're constantly comparing themselves to the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA. Right. And they said, well, obviously they have a players' union. They have a players' association where they can fight for their rights and all that sort of thing. Okay, are you guys looking to get a fighters' union for the fighters so that we can end this sort of mistreatment, as you say, of fighters? No, that's not what this lawsuit's about. This lawsuit is about the UFC has a monopoly on MMA.
But it's not because
whatever.
Mostly like you said, what they're seeking is at the peak of these athletes' prowess, that they were duped out of money by being forced to do business with just the UFC.
Alleged anti-competitive practice include artificially reducing compensation of elite fighters, tying down the roster to long-term exclusive contracts, tying down the most valued fighters through a championship clause, artificially suppressing open market bidding through right of first offer or right to match clause, preventing fighters from financially benefit from their reputations by obtaining their identity rights, imposing promotional obligations for the fighters with no compensation, obtaining rights to retired fighters perpetually, tolling provisions which extend fighter contracts during periods of injury, blocking sponsors from working with fighters through sponsorship and endorsement clauses, eliminating potential rivals, regulating all remaining MMA promoters to minor league status, contractual unadulterated demotion and pay clauses, exclusive contracts for fight venues and sponsors that impair and foreclose other MMA promotions. I don't know. I understand there's a lot of people that are upset about it, and I do agree fighters should be getting paid more. I do agree that they need to be treated better. But at the same time, with everything that's happening in MMA now, with Bellator and World Series of Fighting, you could go other places.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody is forcing you to be a fighter. Nobody is forcing you to sign this contract.
It's not a perfect mold.
No, it's not. And if they were going to go for the fighters union, I think I'd be more for this lawsuit. But they're not. They're like, we just want money because they have a monopoly. But they don't.
Right.
At least in my opinion. Maybe we'll see. And they're saying now this lawsuit could take 10 years to settle and or be finished.
Right.
I wonder how long. Okay, so if it does take 10 years to settle or be finished, over the course of that 10 years, we're going to have a lot of people leaving the UFC due to retirement or being disgruntled. Is there a point in time where they aren't allowed to join this lawsuit?
I don't know what the window is on it. And at that point, is Conley going to be alive? I mean...
Yeah. And the whole monopoly thing is going to be hard to sell anyway, because as far as this year, Bellator has the highest ratings for a free TV MMA event.
It's just very true.
Yeah, but if they're focusing on the past, then they're also focusing on the window when Bellator and World Series of Fighting weren't even relevant. But there's always been somebody. There's always been a strike force, a WEC, a Dream, a Pride. There's always been somebody to fill that gap.
And they're saying because the UFC went after them and bought them, that closed the market.
See, now I can see Pride coming after UFC.
For what?
Just taking all their fighters. Or taking the good fighters.
They bought them.
Well, but I mean, that's essentially what they've done here, right?
That's called competition. Isn't that competition?
Like
hey, I'll offer you more money than he's going to offer you. Do you want to come fight for me, or do you want to fight for him?
But that's not the only thing. I'm going to offer you more money, but I'm not going to give you the chance to go back and tell them my offer. This is my offer. If you don't take this offer, once
don't
you leave
sign my contract then.
I understand.
If you don't like everything in the contract, don't fucking sign it.
But see, that's the thing too. Is like
I don't understand what they're bitching about. Like, I read the contract and I didn't understand it, so I signed it anyway.
There's little things
and now I'm upset when I found out what was really in it.
But there's little things in the contracts where, like, I don't know how they're going to play out in the lawsuit, and they kind of seem to like not have anything to do with the lawsuit. But for example, the fighter's likeness type stuff.
Yeah.
Like when Cain Velasquez didn't want to sign because he didn't want to sign away his likeness for the rest.
Yep.
of his
John
life.
Fitch.
And
John Fitch was one of the biggest things.
That was one of the things where when it happened, I was like, well, then I wouldn't want to either.
Yeah.
So
don't
of
sign
my
it.
life? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I mean, nobody wants to make bobbleheads of me, but at the same time, you
Right.
know, if I make a run in fighting and then I'm retired 10 years later and I want to sell some T-shirts with my face on, I think, God damn it, I should be allowed to.
But I mean, look at the whole Gilbert Melendez thing just recently happened. He got an offer from Bellator. He was going to Bellator, and the UFC matched his offer and gave him more. And he's like, "All right, cool."
Right.
He didn't have to stay. He could have left. He was going to Bellator. Travis Brown, just same thing. They said his contract was up. He knew the UFC even knew Bellator. This is from Travis Brown's manager. UFC knew Bellator was involved, and he goes, "Look, you want to go over there? That's fine. This is what we're going to offer you." And they're like, "Well, this is what they're offering." Fuck. All right. Well, we'll offer you a little bit more than that. And we'll throw in, you'll get a, this, you're going to get this fight on the pay-per-view, this number. You'll get the co-main event. Okay, then I'll go with you guys instead. Have a better manager. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
the thing is that it's not all fighters are throwing a fit about the UFC.
Right.
There's a vocal minority. But for the most part, fighters are...
Ryan Gemmo is very upset. He's tweeted 2 pictures of his seats that he got for free since he's a fighter. He's a fighter in the UFC right now, has 2 knockout wins. In fact, he tied the fastest heavyweight knockout with Todd Duffy, 7 seconds. He tweeted 2 pictures recently. He's like, "Hey, look at my great seats that Dana White gave me for being a fighter." And it's like in the fucking boonies, like way the fuck up there.
No, we got better seats as media?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And then he tweeted, he's like, "Here I am in Vegas again for another great fight from Dana White." And he's like, he's hella far back. He's like, "What the fuck is this? What is this shit?"
Maybe he's legitimately happy about it.
No, he's not. He's very unhappy. He even says, he goes, he's like, "Now, I tweeted it to Dana and at the UFC to prove a point. Like, hey, I don't have a fighters association to go to complain about how I'm being treated. So I'm going to directly talk to my boss, which is, hey, Dana White, what the fuck's up with these shitty seats?
Buy better ones."
Shouldn't I be treated better as one of your fighters? You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's what I would do. Buy good seats and then give the receipt to Dana and be like, "Can you reimburse me on that?
Yeah.
Can you comp that?"
I'm going to turn this into
shit, that guy complained and got DVDs. Fallen Angel.
And he did. He said not only did he get he got the DVDs and $200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you get $200 for?
Because he had to buy the DVDs himself.
Oh my God, it's awesome.
Again, we'll see how this action launches. Of course, a lot of people online are also saying, you know who the real winners are in this? The lawyers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because these are big antitrust lawyers who apparently have taken on Apple and Google and pharmaceutical companies.
Did they win?
And they've won.
Yeah,
they just won a $45 million lawsuit with somebody.
Okay, well, maybe the UFC will pay him to go away. Maybe they won't. Maybe the UFC wants to fight.
They're saying the UFC can't afford to buy their way out of this.
Okay, well then maybe they're going to fuck up and they're going to lose this one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The UFC can't, but the Fertitas can.
I said, some of the
Fertitta's
stuff
uncle
is
can.
kind of funny. And
Yeah.
I did, like I said, listening to... if I can find it again, I'll put the link. I think I saved it. If I could put the link up there of the audio, listening to it, just having them being like, "Fuck, we don't want to talk about that. These are not the droids are looking for." Speech to like everybody that's trying to ask questions that may be
Like
questionable.
legitimate questions.
Yeah, legitimate questions that they're just like, nope.
I read an interesting comparison though that came out after this lawsuit was announced, and with the players' unions and stuff like that, and having comparing the UFC to the NFL or anything like that is one thing because you're comparing an organization to another organization. However, it's not. They wanted to make sure they pointed out this is not a team sport.
Yeah.
So somebody online decided to then compare it to more like golfers.
Yeah.
But there's the PGA Tour, but it's not like they belong to the Pro Golfers Association or whatever. You know,
Right.
There's no major league for golfing, but they go on the PGA Tour or they go over to Britain or they go wherever.
Right.
And they get their own payment that way. Is there you think there's a formula somewhere in the middle? Because it is an organization that they have to
No.
pay.
If you want to make it like golf, then you would have to make each fighter pay their entry fee to get in.
To get in the fight.
I'd like to see a fighter come up with $70,000 to get in on $1 million fight.
Yeah. That's actually a good point.
You know?
And the thing is like, okay, if you try to compare it to boxing, this is where we had a big issue with boxing. Boxing guys, they they self-promote. They have their own promoters. They have their own managers. They have all this stuff. But the problem with it is that then you get guys that are like, well, no, I'm the number one. You don't have a organization who's the number one team. With baseball, whoever wins the World Series is the number one team. Whoever wins football, whoever wins the Super Bowl is the number one team. UFC, whoever has the belt is the number one guy. However, in boxing, it started out that way, and then guys are like, no, I'm not going to fight that guy. I'm worth more money than that champion over there. I'm going to go fight this guy, and this is my new belt. I'm the champion. And now you have fucking 15 different belts.
Right.
And you don't know who the number one guy is anymore.
IBF, WBC, WBA.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? And so that's the thing. Is
7 different boxing
with the UFC, it's similar to the same thing. Okay, you have the guys who got World Series of Fighting Championship. Like, okay, we'll get into the point where we talk about the new strawweight champion for the UFC. You got World Series of Fighting has Jessica Aguilar over there right now, who is, in my opinion, the number one strawweight woman. Now, is her kind of competition starting to dwindle? Yeah, because the UFC just got all the contracts to, in my opinion, the top women that would be competition for her. But she's still the champion. She's still, in my opinion, ranked number one.
Right.
But people are going to start seeing Carla Esparza, who won that title, as the number one woman because she's going to have better competition, and she's with the UFC, which seems to be a little more respected than
So if we got
World Series. It's weird. It's a weirdly weird
if we got
situation.
rid of the multi-fight deals and we're able to let the fighters freelance on their own, like the PGA or something like that, what you're saying then essentially is that they're going to start doing what boxers did and not come back to organizations. As opposed to when you have the PGA Tour, these guys all want to compete against each other.
Yes.
You'll have professional ducking.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And by the way, I really liked Carla's answer to all that. Yeah, what is up with that chick?
Check out the interview with Carla Esparza if you get a chance. We had it up there from earlier this week. It was a good time. Speaking of her, we'll go ahead and jump into the Ultimate Fighter 20 finale, which happened last Friday. Hopefully you caught it. It was free on TV. Did not catch the Fight Pass stuff, though.
Didn't catch Fight Pass? Angela Hill looked like a beast.
I'm surprised.
Over Emily Kagan, man.
I really am.
She looked like a beast.
Considering how bad she got beat on the show.
Dude, but she went against Carla Esparza.
Right.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Is she came in super inexperienced when it unfortunately drew Carla Esparza. That does
Right.
suck.
I think against any of these other women, she's going to be pretty good. But
Which is good because that means that she didn't really get to showcase what she had on the show.
Yep, I agree.
But it did show that Emily Kagan could take a beating, though.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to ever say that about me.
That guy could take a beating.
Asalee Daly went up against Alex Chambers, who was a submission armbar in the first round.
But she was 3 pounds overweight.
Yeah. It's all right.
It's all right.
She gave her 20% of
This
her
next
purse.
one's so sad.
Tisa Torres over Angela Magna.
Not the queen. Off with her head!
Yeah, she got dominated from the start to the finish, in my opinion.
Quit taking selfies, baby. Start working out.
Joanne Calderwood over Hammerdelay. Ham. That was a hell of a fight.
Yep.
I actually really like that fight.
But again,
I like that she's bleeding from the nose, and she's tweeted later, and she also Instagram later. I bleed all the time. It's okay. My nose bleeds every fight I'm in. My nose bleeds.
She's one of your favorites on the show
Yeah,
too.
I liked her.
But I'm disappointed, even the next fight. I'm
Heather
surprised
Jo
that these
Clark.
had to go to decision.
Heather Jo the Blender Clark goes up against Beck Rawlings. Unanimous decision.
Vitamix wins.
Vitamix wins.
Well, Rowdy Beck didn't do nothing till the third, and then by then...
And she got dominated in wrestling.
Yeah.
Definitely. Heather Jo can definitely wrestle.
Yeah.
And that's definitely been one of Beck's down points. I mean, we saw that on the show, too. She gets dominated in the wrestling. She doesn't put the caution to the wind. Felice Herrig over Lisa Ellis in a nasty, nasty armbar.
She had to. She was getting punched to death.
She was getting punched pretty bad. She was getting pretty bad. Caught that armbar, though, pretty good. And then you have Jessica Penne over Ronda Marcos. How'd you see this fight going?
I give her the second. Just how they have
You're
it
okay?
scored. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Well, I mean, I wanted Randa Marcos to win, so I'm a little bit biased, but at the same time, I'm not upset with it.
Yeah, upset decision. Okay.
Did she came in a little bit flat, a little bit different than I
Yeah, she
expected?
seemed a little bit different, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Yancy Medeiros over Joe Proctor with a guillotine choke. That was a pretty good fight. Even though it lasted, 4 minutes, 37 seconds. That whole first round is pretty back and forth. Yancey's quick, man. He's so
really,
quick.
really good.
Really fresh. Really fresh. Then we have KJ Noons, Darren Cruikshank to a no contest.
Bummer.
Because of the eye poke.
Yes.
Now, did you see the thing? Is it true that Cormier got cleared to wear goggles against... Have you seen that?
No.
I don't know.
That's total. It's a total
That's
joke.
fake.
It's got to be a
That's
joke,
fake.
but I mean, it
It'd be
would
awesome.
It would have helped Cruikshank.
It would have helped.
Of course, then again, could you imagine?
Cruikshank had to go to surgery because he had a torn eyelid. Like, it looked pretty bad.
Could you imagine, though, wearing like little swimming goggles and getting punched in the eye?
Well, that's what they look like. There's a picture of Cormier in a locker room, and he's got like these weird goggles on.
I'm sure it's a joke.
Yeah.
But if you got punched in that, though, your eyeball would pop out of the socket.
Yeah.
And it'd be
Have you seen
inside
that video
goggle.
of the guy who lost his eyeball in a fight?
It was a fake eye.
It was a prosthetic eyeball.
But
But
how did he get cleared to fight?
He did get it kicked out, and it rolled around on the cage floor.
What do you mean? There's a guy with no arms and no legs that fights.
No, but don't you remember when we covered the story where they're like, if you got over a certain size fake breast or if you have butt implants, they're not going to. But this guy had an eye. They didn't even make him take it out before
But that was
he
just
fought.
Louisiana. Louisiana, you can't fight with breast implants. Anywhere else you can. They don't care.
Charles Oliveira over Jeremy Stevens, unanimous decision. This was a back and forth war.
Du Bronx.
Du Bronx, man.
Your boy.
He did pretty good.
I really thought Stevens was going to win
thought
this
Stevens
fight,
could take this fight too, but Du Bronx just worked.
And of course, your championship match for the first ever strawweight in the UFC was Carla Esparza versus Rose Namajunas, and I think Rose bit off a lot more than she could chew, man.
Yeah.
it really showed in this fight.
Carla's wrestling is really good.
For Rose being the next Ronda Rousey, man, she really walked into the big dog cage there.
Yeah, and as subdued as Carla came in, I was surprised. I thought, okay, well, because she walked out and it was like the big crowd kind of threw her.
Yeah.
I think Rose has got a lot to learn, and she's the first one to admit it. She goes, everything is a learning experience, even the losses.
Yeah.
I take everything.
She did great on the show.
Back. She did great on the show. I think she did great in the beginning of the fight too. She was throwing down pretty good. Just again, Carla's wrestling was what won her that fight.
And she's already a champion of the sport.
Exactly.
She was
So
already a
you're
champion,
walking in, you're going up against somebody who has more losses than you do experience,
Yep.
essentially.
Right.
And is a current champion of her division.
Now, going back to this though, where you got Jessica Aguilar over there in World Series of Fighting, who is the strawweight champion, and has a win over Carla Esparza.
And has a win over the only other person to beat Carla Esparza.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to get into that too much on the phone with
And
Carla.
has a win over Megumi Fuji, who was consistently ranked the #1 woman in the world.
Well, she's the other one who beat Carla Esparza, right?
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
Until she's lost to Jessica Aguilar twice and actually made her retire.
Yeah, so I think that Jessica Aguilar has a legit point.
She does have a legit point to say that she's the real #1. However, again, being over in World Series of Fighting, I don't feel there's that much competition for her now that the UFC is teamed up
if
with
she does-
Invicta for contracts.
It'll be interesting to see if she comes over to fight Carla and how long it takes. Because if it takes too long, she's going to have a lot of soft competition for a while.
Oh, yeah.
While Carla's going to be fighting the
It's
top,
going to be
top of the chain.
like Fedor, like we talked about. He was doing really good facing the top guys. Then he kind of rode out a little bit, fought a top guy here or there, rode it out. And then at the end, when he fought all top guys,
yeah.
he faded out real quick. I mean, he was the #1 heavyweight, for a long time. And no matter what people wanted to say that he was overrated, he fought top guys when they were the top guys in Pride. However, after that, it was hit and miss who he was able to fight. I mean,
Right.
Tim Silvio, at the time when he fought him in Affliction, he just came out of the UFC. He did have a title at the time. You know what I mean? Like, you can't say that he wasn't a top competitor.
I don't know. Tim Silvio is always overrated.
But again, you get the was he overrated? Do you take it away that he was a champion? He did beat Arlovsky twice. He did beat some of these other guys. You know what I mean?
I know.
Or do you just look at the landscape back then and be like, well, he was the top guy because there really wasn't anybody else.
Pretty much.
Well, and like in the forum, a lot of these guys will tell you too, if you want to go back, there's a lot more allowable blows, holds.
Yep.
So with the what's allowable now, is it still transferable?
Yeah.
Not a lot of it.
Not a lot.
Especially not Pride rules versus UFC rules. Current UFC rules. Absolutely not.
So then we had, I don't know if you guys got to watch this, we had a 90-second fight between Rousimar Paularis and John Fitch's knee. John Fitch lost the knee. Again, there was rumors that Paul
Is it in
Harris...
the lost and found somewhere?
It was rumors that Paul Harris held it too long. I do not agree with that. I know
11 taps. He tapped 11 times.
Hey, that's the referee's fault. Referee was not there to break it up.
Yeah,
and he will not let go until the referee breaks it
I
up.
agree. The ref's got to be on top of
And
that.
the ref was the one who, once he pulled, he let go.
Yeah.
As soon as the ref grabbed him to pull the he let go. You watch the slow-mo, it looks way more brutal than it does in real time. It looks like, oh my god, he's breaking. Why is nobody stopping the fight? Like,
Because like Arlovsky said, The ref was asleep.
Yeah, ref was asleep.
That's bullshit, man.
So
I want Polaris and Ronda Rousey to be roommates, not date or anything, but I want them to go out together just so she can hang her arms on one wall.
He's gonna hang legs.
He can hang his legs on the other wall.
Yeah, they said if they had kids, nobody's arms or legs would be safe.
yeah, would not be good.
Just be torsos floating around like in Wall-E.
And then, of course, you had on Saturday your Ultimate Fight Night 13 live on Fox.
Great event.
Started off over there on Fight Pass.
Yeah, we got Ian Entwistle up against Anthony Burchak. This was a heel hook in the first round, minute 4.
I loved how they rolled around until he could actually, because he had the heel hook a couple times in the middle.
He's going for it. He's going for it.
Yeah. He had to get him up against the fence before he could finally lock it
He
in.
had to stop him from rolling.
Yeah.
Had to get
Quit moving, dude.
had to get a wedge in underneath him.
And I think it was Goldie. He kept saying, he's in! No, he's out! No, he's in! No, he's out! Oh, he's against the fence! Oh, it's in! It's okay. It's over.
like Ross
It's
Perot.
all over!
Ross Perot running for president. I'm in.
I'm out. I'm out. And then you do the hokey pokey.
Henry Cejudo over Dustin Kimura. This was a unanimous decision, also followed by a decision.
Olympic champion right there, man. Got his first win in the UFC.
Oh, okay. So there you go. David Machoud. I'm going to fuck all these up, too.
Sorry,
Against
Brian.
Garrett Whiteley. This was a
you.
unanimous decision. Moving on to the prelim card on Fox Sports 1. Brian Barberina up against Joe Ellenberger. That's pretty awesome last name, actually. Poor Joe loses TKO elbows and punches in the third round, 3 minutes, 24
Is he related
seconds.
to Jake?
Yes, he is. That's his brother.
Is his brother?
Yeah. Well, how's his big brother doing now?
Ellenberger?
Yeah.
He's coming off wins, no?
Yeah, he just fought recently.
Yeah, I thought so. Drew Dober retired Jamie Varner.
Yep.
Rear naked choke. Jamie Varner leaves. There's no love lost. There's no shed tears.
Nope.
He did a good job.
He was a shitty champion in the WC, came over to the UFC and did all right.
Can I announce this next one?
Go ahead.
Okay, Joe Riggs loses to Joe Riggs. He did, right? Joe Riggs slammed the guy, and he slammed the guy on his own shoulder, and then he's out.
Pretty much. It's happened before. We've had the guys knock themselves out. Gray Maynard knocked himself out in a slam before. We saw that happen, then he freaked out and got all mad.
So Joe Riggs knocked himself out in 57
Yeah,
seconds.
Joe Riggs did. Ben Sanders was there, so they gave him the win.
Yeah, he's the one who's still conscious. Happened to Carlos Newton.
You know what? I want to win. I want to fight like that. Just not having to do anything.
Dude, just try to slam me. Just put your head right there, though.
I'm gonna try that in the next fight I get into. Willingly let him slam me. No, that'll be terrible. It'll be cement. I'll die. So Big Ben Saunders gets a win, which he shouldn't have had.
All right, I'll give it to him anyway.
Whatever. John Moraga.
I would have gave it to him to begin with.
Willie Gates. I wanted to see Diesel make a comeback run, man.
No.
Hell yeah.
Not if you'd have seen him cry about a stinger, because that's what it was. He got a stinger.
like from Sting?
Yeah, it was Scorpion Death Drop. That's pretty much what it was. Dude, you shot yourself with a loaded gun cleaning it. You deserve to lose.
Dude, I didn't even think of that. He shot himself, and then he submitted himself.
Right?
Joe Riggs' worst enemy is Joe Riggs.
Joe Riggs is cleaning a loaded handgun. I have no sympathy.
Shot himself
None
and submitted himself.
whatsoever.
I just wanted him to come back so we could... This is my perfect...
You wanted to see him
perfect
fight Nate Diaz.
Did you
Yeah,
want to watch?
Diaz,
You wanted to
excuse
watch
me.
him pee?
I don't want to watch him pee.
Okay.
You wanted to have him seen fight Nick Diaz.
You got Robbie Lawler.
Robbie
hold the
Lawler
belt.
can fight Nick Diaz.
Yeah.
I'd still be happy with that fight.
And then Robbie Lawler, say he fights Nick Diaz, and then say Nick Diaz knocks him out again. And then Joe Riggs all of a sudden is making this meteoric rise.
Has a title shot.
And he gets a title shot against Nick Diaz. This is a movie right here, man.
Said if Joe Riggs has a title shot.
I think you got a better shot at making a time machine, brother.
Joanna Drzerzer.
I think Joe Riggs has a better shot at shooting his other leg, cleaning his other gun.
Maybe he can shoot himself in the injury that he got from the...
Yeah, don't even try to pronounce that last name. That's Joanna. We saw you in San Jose.
All right, that'll work. Up against Claudia whatever. Split decision. I don't even care anymore.
She beat the shit out of her.
I can't even...
I think it's more 30.
Joanna might be now the number one contender to take
Yeah.
take on Carla Garza.
think-
Esparza.
I think it should have been 30-27, 30-27, 30-27.
It was a pretty...
Decisive win.
It should have been a unanimous fight.
Matt Mitrione knocks out Gabriel Gonzaga. This was a good showing for Matt Mitrione.
Yeah,
man.
Meathead looked good.
Yeah, very good.
I thought that Man Bear Pig was going to take this all the way.
He looked a little slow.
He did look a little slow. And then he got immediately tweeted by his ex-manager / coach and said that, look, you need to seriously take your training seriously. If you're ready to take your job seriously, you can come talk to me and we're going to get you back into shape and we're going to make you the champion again. Otherwise, you need to hang it up and just go hang out in the gym.
Quit embarrassing
And
yourself.
quit embarrassing yourself.
He's not going to be the champion again. But he needed to try to submit Matt Mitrione.
Yeah, and that's what he said. What are you doing? He's like, you think you got these hands now because your boxing has improved, which it has. But what are you doing going up against Meathead with your?
You couldn't even
boxing?
beat a football player.
Yeah, like go to your bread and butter, man. Submit the guy.
You don't box with Cabbage 2.
Yeah,
Cabbage 2.0. Alistair Overeem sent Stefan Struve to an early grave.
This was a bullying.
just tossed him around.
Just 4 minutes and 13 seconds of getting his ass kicked.
Tossed him around.
Yeah,
I mean, just short of punching him in the heart.
And how many times have I said this? Stefan Struve, use your front kick, please. You could keep the guy at distance the entire time and just kick him in the face or in the body. It's not like Alistair's got a devastating shot.
He's not going to be able to outreach your 4-foot leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why nobody kicks Alistair in the legs, because he's like one of those rocks in Arizona. You know, it's all big on top. You just break the foundation.
He's got some pretty beefy legs, though, man. Have you seen when he kicks?
Yeah.
They're pretty heavy. I mean, he fucking destroyed Brock Lesnar's, perforated intestine. He did. He kicked him right in the gut.
Kicked him right in the diverticulitis.
You aggravated my diverticulitis.
Made him explode.
Somebody really just gave him some pepper before the fight. He didn't realize it. That's all it was. Got one of his intestinal pockets. Rafael Dos Anjos, Mr. Two Hands himself, beats up Nate Diaz. Just a 15-minute ass whooping.
30-26.
Yeah.
I mean,
we beat this into the ground, but dude, show up, Nick.
Nate, and also check some leg kicks, bro. Don't just stick your foot out there. What are you doing? He says he was injured. He just showed up for the money.
He was 40%.
Yeah.
God, I love these numbers.
He said he was about 40. He just showed up for the money. He needed to get paid. He wasn't really into it.
And then you showed up overweight and he didn't make
because he was injured.
Open workouts, but the open workouts. So you showed up for the money and then you immediately gave half of it back.
Pretty much.
Over, right? After all the penalties and everything, he gave up over half the money.
Probably, yeah.
Stipe Miocic tried to.
Good for Stipe, man.
He tried to push Dos Anjos.
Junior Dos Santos. I don't know when you should step back in the cage for a little while. I think another year layoff would be great for you. That'd be fantastic.
It was a good fight.
It was a great fight, but I think
enjoyable.
Stipe could have won that fight. I think he just got tired. By the 4th and 5th round, he was tired.
Yeah.
First round, all Stipe. I mean, he pushed. Look at Dos Santos' face.
Oh, yeah.
Dos Santos was sucking wind, still trying to throw. Hey, why can I not knock out? I wonder how much, because he always claims, I can knock out any man in the world. Can you? Can you really? How many times did you hit Stipe and he just looked at you?
But see, here's my problem with the judging. You got Joanna's fight, which was a split, which we know Joanna dominated that whole fight. Okay, and then we got this fight, which was a unanimous.
This could have been a split. I think Junior maybe did enough in the 4th and 5th just because Stipe was so tired.
Yeah.
But I give it to Stipe. Like I said, to me, he proved he shouldn't even move in the rankings. He should stay exactly where he's at in the rankings, and Junior should actually come down one because he didn't win decisively enough.
I think Stipe I think he surprised a lot of people with this fight, especially against a name like Junior Dos Santos. I'll admit, I was taking care of some other business at my house because my son was getting in trouble at my house, so I was in and out between rounds.
Now, I will say this makes Cain Velasquez look like a fucking god in the division, where you got these two slow ass, the number 2 and number 5 guy just I'm like, is it on slow-mo? Oh no, they're just tired.
See, but here's the difference.
Because Cain can just go nonstop, cardio nonstop, and he still looks fast every single round.
Well, I mean, as far as we know, we haven't seen him in a while.
Last 2 fights.
But we're going to see Stipe improve.
Oh, hands down.
You're seeing Dos Santos
decline.
At his best, if not on
his
his way
best
down.
years are behind him. When he was catching those guys with uppercuts and fast hands, now everyone's like, all right, we know the game plan. You push you up against the fence, you freak out, you start pounding on you, you're going to start circling around like... You know what I mean?
I wish you guys could see what Dodge does when he does his Dos Santos impersonation.
Like, he just looks slow, and like I said, in my opinion, he got his ass whooped.
Oh, Cain broke Junior Dos Santos.
Yeah, and again, he has to now question his hand. I can knock out anybody. Can you? Because Stipe didn't get knocked out.
Yeah.
He took every single one of your punches, and you look like a mess.
We've seen a lot of guys lose their knockout power as they get older.
Yep.
Chuck quit knocking people out, too.
Yeah, because I don't even think Junior could see anybody in the press conference.
No.
They were like, over here.
He's like,
what?
It's like he had 2 vaginas for eyes. Sealed shit. All right, so that's it. That wraps up another episode of Split Decision. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends. Spread the word. Sorry for butchering names. That fucked up my head, man. Like, it was all fun and games until somebody outside called us out on it.
No, but I'm glad.
Now it's real.
It's real.
Yeah, I'm glad, though, because, I mean, we have tons of listeners. We know that we have tons of listeners, but we never have anybody. I want to hear good, bad, any other way. Let us know.
Tell us we suck.
Yeah, please. That's fine.
Yeah, you can email us at splitdecisionmma@gmail.com.
Please do. Get us on Twitter. Get us on Instagram. Just get us. If you do have Twitter or Instagram and want to find us there, it's SD_MMA. On Facebook, it is Split Decision MMA Podcast. Our website is splitdecisionmma.com. You can download this Split Decision Podcast on Spreaker, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and iTunes.
Joey,
And,
have a happy Christmas. Brandon, have a happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas to both of you as well.
All right.
All right. So I guess
Because they're not going to hear us until after Christmas.
That's true. So everybody listening, have a very Feliz Navidad or whatever. And
Police took my car?
Feliz on my dog.
Okay.
Feliz on my dog. So yeah, thanks for listening. Bueller, Dodge, and Dennis saying from the Ruloff Family Studios, have a good night. We'll see you at the fights.